I thought I'd kick us off with some introductions. And then I'm going to go through some just really great macro conversations around marketing. Let Janet really take us through some of her role and what she's doing. And then I'm going to kick it to the audience because I find that if we can get the audience involved in this, we can have a really fun discussion around it. So first of all, thank you, Brand Innovators. Thank you for all you innovators for showing up this evening for our conversation. I want to welcome everyone to the show, and we have Miss Janet Lee. So Janet, I would love for you to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Janet. I head up marketing at Samsung Electronics America. So I head up marketing for the mobile experience division, and I'm based in Dallas.
Well, welcome. I'm Kristen Elliott. I am head of sales integration for Kargo. And Kargo is an organization that we really focus on our amazing ad creative and ad technology across every screen. And everyone's probably wondering, sales integration, head of sales, what is that? So I've been in my role for 6 weeks, and I get the lucky job of really helping the team bring together all the products together and how to sell them, make sure they're all resourced and they're awesome out in market. So, Janet, we are all dying to know. So, we had a lovely conversation a week ago and really thinking about framing out this conversation and what we really want to talk about and what folks out in the audience really want to learn. And I went out and I kind of, queued up what people really want to know and learn about is really nowadays, and we're coming in 2023, what does it take to be a good marketer right now?
Right now?
Right now.
Well, in general, let me speak in general. In my opinion, and I have a lot of opinion. When you get to this age, you have strong POV about a lot of things in life in general. But on the topic of being a good marketer, I have grown to really appreciate deep thinking, relentless thinking about your consumer, your objective, your projects. I tend to get annoyed when people bring me ideas that just come to mind easily, especially when I'm dealing with agencies. So all agency partners out there, listen up. If it comes to you in 5 minutes, that probably isn't going to impress me. So I appreciate deep thinking about it in the shower, thinking about it on your drive to work, drive back home, that relentless thinking about your consumer. I used to say you have to be passionate about your target audience. I tend to now say you need to have obsession over your target audience. I appreciate that, and I don't see a lot of that from marketers, agency partners, or even external partners, vendors. I have, newfound appreciation for deep thinking. I think that makes a good marketer or a kick-ass marketer.
I like kick-ass marketer. I think when Janet and I were speaking, she was talking about, as she mentioned, she doesn't want shallow marketing. She wants people who are really passionate and obsessive about what they're doing as marketers. So tell us a little bit more, as sitting in the CMO seat, how do you make sure your teams are bringing that to the table? How do you really invigorate that?
So everything starts with really crisp articulation of the objective, like why you're doing it. Sometimes it's really hard to be honest about why you're doing it. So if you keep asking, so why are we doing this? Well, because we want to, bring fresh ideas, blah, blah, blah. So I said, okay, why fresh ideas? So if you keep asking, at the end of the day, it comes down to driving brand relevance with your target audience or stimulating demand. You just have to be honest. You don't have to be fluffy about your objective, because at the end of the day, even marketing, as fluffy as sales and supply chain people may think it is, everything is in support of the business. So I think it's okay to be honest about it. I want to generate demand, or I want to maybe not demand right immediately for certain target audience. Desirability with certain audience, then you have to be very honest about it. And then only then you can kind of build out what it takes to get there. So again, I talked about deep thinking. Another pitfall that I see often with marketers and just business people in general is that I think when you've been doing something for so long, you immediately get to the bottoms-up planning, tactical planning. You lose faith in the process of top-down marketing. So start with objective, and you will surely find a way, creative way, new way, something that's never been done before. If you trust that process, I get very annoyed when my team, people who are very well-versed in partnership marketing, well-versed in influencer marketing, they go straight to the planning. I said, no, start from here and then go down. Because if you start bottoms up, at best, you're just going to get a lot of tactical ideas that don't kind of work together. So I tend to kind of bring people back up and start from here, objectives, strategies, and then you get into the tactical. Yeah,
I really like that because you're really enforcing your team and having them think big, right? Because if you don't start here, they don't know their possibilities, right?
Yep.
So I love being able, as a teacher, as for your group, that you're really enforcing that. So there's some of the work that you did, and a lot of people know Janet. You've seen, on LinkedIn, the amazing industries that she's worked in. So going from beauty, going from even biotech, and now coming in consumer electronics or mobile, where did you learn from your experience to get that strong POV? Was there a leader or a team? I'd love to know more about that.
It's interesting. You just have to learn. I think everything you're learning starts from having that intellectual curiosity. I think, coming from CPG, very traditional CPG company, I worked at J&J, we pretty much start with a very preset curriculum. You do your forecasting, you do your concept writing, you do your agency management, you rotate through the core skill sets that have been already defined for you. But even with the same prescribed curriculum, what really differentiates the growth is how curious you are and how much above and beyond you go to accelerate your own learning. So even though we were in charge of doing pretty much the same thing, a year later, year and a half later, you can see some people really standing out, whereas, the others kind of receding into the background. So as you learn, you start to develop POV. If you don't know anything, you can't have a POV. I drink a lot of wine for work, but I have no POV on wine because I never paid attention. I'm just not that curious about wine, right? So you need to be very curious, and then you need to experience. Then, even without you trying, you start to form point of view. And, when it comes to marketing, I remember different moments when I thought to myself, you know what? This is what I think. So, for example, when I worked at J&J, it was a great company. I learned tons from there. But one thing, you can have your own thoughts, even though your company teaches you a set of things. And two most used words at J&J, at least based on my experience and my memory, were consensus and alignment. I had to get everyone's, alignment. Everyone has to, we had to get to certain consensus to move things forward. But at one point, I decided, well, for me, in my point of view, effective marketing is not done by democracy. It's not done by equally sharing. I just decided, okay, when I run my own marketing department, or if I were to start my own company, I'm going to have one marketing dictator who decides things. Because how
you be a badass.
Yeah, because if you move only based on consensus, ideas get watered down and you end up with, somebody else could have done it kind of thing. So I'm not saying I'm right, but that's how you develop a POV. And I like people with different POVs, even if we have to debate and disagree till, I don't know, one party persuades the other. But that's how you develop POV and how you bring that to the table in a group setting and when you work with other people.
No, I think that's super impressive. And coming from different industries, you learn different POVs from your leaders within those groups. How do you apply that to now being part of Samsung? So I think the thing that's really interesting coming into Samsung, what Janet was sharing, was what she was doing to really understand that customer and trying to make sure her marketing team was connected and being obsessive about that customer. So tell us a little bit about how you looked at that customer and then you defined a group, which you have in your creator group, and give us a little more information. How does Samsung define creators?
Yeah, so I don't know the latest stat, but I bet you being a creator, before it was specifically YouTuber, but now there are many other platforms in addition to YouTube. So I bet you more than 50% of kids 13 to 18 would say, I want to be a creator. So how do we market? So for those of you who know Samsung mobile business, we launch 2 flagship smartphones a year. So first half, we launched Galaxy S. And Galaxy S is deeply rooted in camera functionality, and that's the core equity of that franchise. And we talk a lot about how our camera functionality is superior to our biggest competitor. And we want to drive that, right? So rather than us saying we have camera superiority with Galaxy S, we want our target audience to feel it, right? And we want them to see it in the context that's relevant and resonant to them. So creators, they're all around us. Some do it for a living, some do it just for fun. But that's a big word now, creator community, creator economy, So when we talk about camera functionality, before, I think 2 launches ago, we coined this word, pro-grade camera. How do you show pro-grade camera? We work here, so we know what that means, but does the average person know? So it means it's good enough for professionals. So we did this whole reality show where professional photographers use our phone. And then the next evolution, what's great about marketing is you can try to drive the same message in different ways every year. So last year, we wanted to showcase our camera functionality and superiority through the creator community, and our brand's unique POV that's differentiated from our competitor was that we give access. We democratize technology. We don't want lack of access to technology to be the hurdle or something that prevents people from pursuing their passion, whether it's photography, videography, or any other type of content creation. So the way to show it and to drive, get that credibility with the creator community, rather than going after the elite, movie directors, we wanted to make that connection with everyday creators. So we launched this whole new platform that we own called Samsung Galaxy Creator Collective. It's a program where we invite unknown, not, the creators who haven't made it big yet, meaning they don't have a contract with Samsung or they don't have million followers. So we go out, scouting for them, and all we looked for was that they were serious about it. They were passionate about it, meaning they were consistent in producing content and posting. We didn't care if they only had 2,000 followers. So we invited about 20 or so of such creators, and we brought our own paid roster of creators, including Colin and Samir, and we had we had our what we call Team Galaxy creators, and then we had them share their journey as a creator, and we found something very interesting with the creators, and it was a delightful aha moment. As a marketer, I still get super excited when I discover new insight. So being a creator is a very lonely process because you concept content idea alone, you produce it alone, you edit it alone, you post it alone, and then you quietly wait for response from viewers. So when these creators came together, it was like magic. They were, oh, I did this. What do you think of this? My genre has been evolving. I don't know if I can make it, doing this. You think there will be market for this type of content? And we kind of fostered collaboration. Since then, many of our creators started working together and shooting together. Amazing. And some of them actually cried. And they were, thank you, Samsung. Can you promise us you'll do this again?
Okay. Brilliant marketing.
Yeah, so we kept the promise. So we're doing it even bigger. Last time it was in our 837, our facility in New York. This time we're doing it in Mobile Experience Division's backyard in Dallas, downtown Dallas. We're bringing about 25 creators, up-and-coming creators, and a whole big group of established creators. And I think the platform is very compelling because a lot of our partners are paying to participate. So shout out to Meta, Snap, Billboard, Reddit, Google. They're all coming, and I told our partners, do not come and pitch your platform or your new product. It's not about you, it's about the creators. Come and give them tips on how to make it, how to turn their passion into profession, into a solid career. So we're super excited. It's happening next week.
I love it. The thing that I
and
think
it's going to be live streamed.
A live stream. We got to all check it out. I think the thing you brought up that I think is really compelling as a marketer is listening to a consumer base. They're your creators, and finding out there is something that they need support in. They're lonely as they're creating. How can you build a community? So what Samsung really dug in is built a community of creators, and then bringing in other support from the platforms to make sure they're sharing, they're giving them tips. So you created a safe space for a group of people to learn to share and use your technology in the most amazing way.
Yep, and we're very real about what's on their mind. So. What do you think was the number one question that they asked? So we collected questions. What was the number one question? I'll
Audience?
tell you. How do I win a contract with Samsung? So, but it's only natural. It makes sense because how can your pursuit of passion be sustainable? It's only sustainable if you can make a living doing it. So we're very real about it. We're not, okay, you're a creative person and you have lofty creative, passion. That's why you're producing. No, you need to make a living in order for you to keep doing it. So we're very open and honest about that. So we try to answer questions that are real, that are really on the minds of the creators. How do I get to 1 million subscribers on YouTube platform? How do I win a contract with big companies like Samsung so I don't have to worry about, paying my bills, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And I think this goes back to if you go on to Samsung's site and learning about their mission, it's about creating a better society. So you are really laddering up, again, going to the top spot of where your mission going to and making sure you're creating great marketing around that.
Yeah. So I think, when you start from there, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And what is the takeaway that we want to instill in our audience and the participants, our partners? So we always start from there. And, we always put our target audience, whether it's consumers or creators or our partners, we focus on them. Like, what do they want to get out of this? What would make it meaningful for them? What's in it for them? We always start from there. And then obviously our partners will get something out of that. Because, many of the partners who are going to be participating in our creator collective are social platforms. They need creators to keep producing cool content that will engage people and entertain people. So it's a great opportunity for them to hear directly from the creators. So they're very excited about that. And I hope this platform, itself is sustainable and gains more traction year over year.
Yeah, I love hearing that. And I think the other thing you're touching upon is how these creators are being mentored. Mm-hmm. I think often we're hearing about this on a lot of stages over this weekend and coming up week is how are we mentoring the next group of leaders? How are we making sure we're really enforcing that? Tell us a little bit. We've had a conversation around mentorship, and I think we're often asked, being women, and it's Women's Month, what does that look like for us, and how are we really lending to that? So I'd love to hear your perspective on how are you really enforcing it, and what does mentorship mean for you?
So suddenly the distinction between mentorship and sponsorship seems to be of high interest, especially when it comes to diversity and inclusion, especially for women in tech. I guess I'm now kind of getting used to that phrase, women in tech. For me, I think mentorship is good, sponsorship is good. Both require unconditional generosity on the part of the person giving mentorship or sponsorship. So the way I think about the two differently, mentorship requires your time. You're generous with your time, and you are willing to give your empathize with that person when you're listening, and in order for you to give advice, situational advice, career advice, whatever that may be. But when you're asking someone to mentor you, that's where it's going to stop. I think some people ask, people to mentor them, thinking that there's some career advancement opportunities coming out of that. I don't think so. Mentorship is just that. You give time and empathy. Sponsorship, on the other hand, I think for me, and this is just my definition of sponsorship, sponsorship is time, empathy, but then also you're willing to burn your equity for that person's career advancement. Meaning, I have certain relationship of people, in position of power, people who can impact other people's career, and I'm willing to use my equity with that person to talk about somebody else, to advocate somebody else, and have that person give a favor to that somebody else. So I think that's where sponsorship is a lot more. You're generous at a different level. So, and I personally exercise sponsorship a lot, especially as a woman in tech, because there aren't that many of us. So, and what I want to say to other women who have equity with people in position of power is that your equity doesn't get used up to zero. You can always rebuild it. It's constant, process. Don't feel that you're wasting your equity on someone else. It's not gone once you use it. So I encourage people to be that generous at that level and burn your equity for other people's career advancement.
No, I love the idea of sponsorship because I think at any level that you're at, looking for that sponsorship out there, whether you are just starting your career, you may be getting mentoring, but that sponsorship at that level, all the way up to the senior level and trying to make that move and really punch into that C-level job.
Yep.
Like you really need people to be fighting, to be sponsoring you, to make sure that people, especially for women, we're always looking, who are those two other women and who are those great guys that are going to make sure that we get that spot, that seat. And having women like Janet who are going to fight for us is amazing.
Yeah. I think that's the difference because, before I started working in Samsung and got into tech space, I never thought about, women representation because I was lucky enough to work in beauty space where everybody was women. Your CFO was a woman, your head of marketing was a woman, Yeah. So I wasn't really aware of that, but being in tech space now, what I would encourage other women, don't give up. I think I have, many directors and senior directors who are women on my team. That's the critical moment. A lot of women quit when they're directors and senior directors because they don't have a path to the next level. No, they haven't been shown a path to that executive level. And then as you are working as a director, a senior director, your job it becomes much more demanding. Therefore, you're giving up more family time and, without path to become an executive, your opportunity cost of giving up time with family, that just feels very accentuated. It becomes bigger and bigger. So you either quit or, you just feel like it's not worth it. I say hang in there and ask. One big difference between men and women is that men ask, shamelessly ask all the time. Women don't ask as often. Go ask. Tell people what you want. If you don't ask, you don't get. I'm sorry, it's such a cliche, and I can't believe I just said it, but but that's how it works in life. If you don't ask, you don't get. I think women need to be bolder and more brave in stating what it is that they want.
Yeah, I think the idea of brave is one of those things. And identifying people on your team above you that you can be brave together and create that space together and have those conversations. So I know there's some folks in the audience that have some questions for our kick-ass Janet. I'm going to kick it to the audience. There we go.
Hi, Janet. My name is Ahen Gorbin. I'm from the BBC. And I want to know, what was your stepping stone in your career that elevated you to the next level?
You mean how do I get to? I always asked. At one point, I said, "This is what I want." I think first step is for you to define your success. For me, I define success once I got into the profession of marketing, I knew that I wanted to be the best marketer. Like if someone were to ask me who's the best marketer I know, I wanted to be able to say Janet Lee. So that was my goal. Honestly, I wanted to be in that place where I just felt so good and so confident. And I worked hard at it. I moved around to pick up skill sets that I was missing. And then the title and then that for me came after. And at some point, I decided I want to be the final decision maker when it comes to marketing. I'm kind of done asking people for their opinion. That sounds terrible.
And permission. I love it. Amazing.
No, but I'm being honest. I just decided one day I'm going to be the final decision maker when it comes to marketing, and I need to work. I need to figure out how I'm going to get there. So that's what I did, and then it kind of required the title. But I had that moment of clarity. Like, this is what I want. I really feel like I worked hard to hone my skills, and I really feel like I know what I'm doing. I need not explain to other people for final decision. So that's what I worked on. I think first you need to define what success is for you. Do your part, and if it requires other people's support and sponsorship, then figure out who is in the position of power to advocate for you. And I think that's the best way to get to the next level. Don't quit. Don't quit. Before you quit, ask 20 people to help you.
Oh, that's great advice.
Yeah.
We got one in there.
Yeah, you mentioned taking a self-assessment to figure out, what your gaps are in your career, where you want to be, and what you need to do to fill that in. Can you talk about how you go about that assessment to understand where the gaps are in your career, what you need to work on in order to get to that place?
Yeah, so after business school, I grew up in LA, so I went to business school in Evanston, and then I went back to LA because that's what people from LA do. They always go back to LA. And I was working at Mattel. I was working in the licensing department, and I loved it. I worked for Barbie and Hot Wheels, and as I was working with my licensors, so I worked with P&G, Crest, Colgate, J&J. I signed Spider. I signed Bonnie Bell, Lip Smackers, and as I was talking to my licensees, they would talk about going to present to Walmart, Target, their buyers. They would talk about pulling ROI data and all that. And I thought to myself, I don't do any of that. Wow, am I missing out as a marketer? So I knew, okay, I need to learn how to pull ROI data and do analysis of syndicated scan data or POS data. Or I need to go present to Walmart, Target buyers. So I started putting together a list. So that's when I knew that I had to go into traditional CPG training ground. So I targeted P&G, J&J, Kraft, those list of companies, and I went to J&J. And then I worked at J&J on a brand called Clean and Clear, so selling skincare to pimple-faced teenagers. And then I realized, wow, the creme de la creme of beauty is really anti-aging. So I knew I need to go do anti-aging, and I need to understand formulation for all these. So that's what I targeted next. So I went to L'Oreal, and I managed a whole bunch of anti-aging brands. And then I knew that I worked on a small brand called Vichy Laboratoire at L'Oreal. So I knew that I didn't have a big media budget. Oh, wow, I'm not doing big media campaigns, so I'm missing out. So I made a list. So I said, next job, I want to go to global, where I do more formulation, I do more media and more advertising, production, all that. So then I went to art, and I did exactly that. So I joined Samsung not by accident, but by design. I knew, okay, this is going to, again, sound really bad, but I felt like I kind of mastered beauty marketing, so I wanted to try something new. So I specifically targeted automotive and consumer electronics, our hard lines. So that's how I navigated, my career. It's my own. It's very unique to me. I designed it. I'm not saying that's success formula for everybody, but you own your career and you own your success, so you define it, and nobody else can say failure or success about your career. I think that's what's great about your own career. You get to decide what's success for you.
That's just brilliant. I think, Janet, what you also just spoke about was humility and being able to admit I don't know, and how do I find out, and how do I punch up to get better.
Yeah.
I think that's such great advice for anyone as you're starting, myself right now. Like, keep punching higher, keep staying curious, and be obsessive about what you're doing, right?
Yes. That just about sums it up.
Is that a good summation? Well, thank you, everyone, for coming and hearing us.
Thank you.